What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Lab Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Coach A, here with
Coach Gards.
tough time for a phone call.
I'm just checking time too. I like your setup.
Quick ding.
No,
And we're joined by one of the oldest members of the GRP team, return guest, the man with more nicknames than any other strength coach in the organization, Lucas Azaneno-Lobo. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
LL Speed.
Pace.
We had to explain.
Wow.
I had to explain.
Why I
pace.
could understand pace. I just never heard anybody call him pace.
Did you like?
I like pace. Pace is good.
Did you like the way that I broke it out?
You broke it down with an equal sign.
Yeah, where it's like, you seen those the memes where it's like, I eat salad with steak, like, and then at the end it's like, I eat steak. You know, like I like salad with steak. I like steak. I eat steak. That was basically it. Like,
Yeah.
Lucas gets people faster. Fast people play with pace. Lucas is pace. So anyway, thanks for being on. Appreciate it. Before we hop into talking about speed, how about the Buds?
How about the Oilers?
Well, the Oilers too.
Like I don't think we touched base since they were down 2-0 and had the old little prediction, didn't we? We got to go roll that back a bit. I think.
Cue the clip and they're just like does the ripple.
No, what a playoff. It's been a good playoff.
It's been incredible.
Every night.
Game 7s, Dallas, Colorado, heartbreaker, but nonetheless, like incredible game. St. Louis and the Jets. Oh my gosh. Tough one.
Wow. I watched a young kid cry.
Yeah, it's
felt bad for him.
Oh.
He was thought they were going through, and then it was just devastating. My neighbor across the street, his kid, they had a unfortunate, this is a quick little story, but how good hockey guys are. Unfortunate fire in their house I think I've told you a bunch of years ago.
Yep.
And
wasn't it
burnt
sorry, like the fireplace, right? That's what guys,
burnt the basement, burnt everything. They were lucky to get out. And it was a guy we know that works for the Blues organization, and Big Walt helped out, and they got a signed jersey. Robbie Thomas, obviously, who's now, I didn't know him back then, but great guy, signed jersey. And so the kid changed his number to 18. And
oh, no way.
Yeah. And so he was kind of chirping me because Colorado lost, because I was all for Landy. And then we were sitting there in the house, and they scored with like 1.2 seconds left. And like, I've never seen a kid's face drop. And then his dad let him stay up and watched overtime. And his dad said to him, "Hey," it's like, "Son, I've been 20 years now. I haven't seen the Leafs come out of the second round. So you just got to go some heartbreak." But it was
go through some heartbreak.
Yeah, it was, man. Like kids get hooked. It's
awesome. The Oilers are out of this world. Connor McBrown is.
Buddy, he looked like LL Speed on the thing.
Oh my God! What a goal!
Sure.
What a goal!
Yeah,
that was insane. It's been super exciting.
But everybody's now on the wagon again with the
Toronto,
yeah.
But
this happened in Ottawa too.
We'll go back to Florida. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you got to think that stealing one there is very important.
You need to steal one.
If you go like best of 5 against the Cats, I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah. No, I hope they steal one, but who knows?
The officiating last night was so bad. I know it's a hard job. I'm sorry, but it was. I still don't get how you get embellishment and a penalty. I still don't understand.
I genuinely don't understand that.
You get like
embellishment call.
Yeah.
Well, it's always with a penalty.
I know, that's what I mean. Like it's either embellishment
or like
penalty.
It could be a trip and the guy dives and sells it. But getting him from behind into the glass, and then what are you embellishing? Because he's grabbing your face.
He rolled around for like 2 seconds. Thank you. Off screen. Sorry, there's no cough. I did, but like it wasn't like he was like down there like a fish out of water flopping like a peewee kid.
We got hit in that back.
Yeah, got blown up for
real numbers. So, anyways,
exciting. Yeah. But all right, moving on. Let's talk about getting fast. We've already done your background on here, Luke, but I guess we'll do like a quick brief synopsis for those who haven't heard before. You've been with GRP for 11, I think. Maybe. 11 this year.
Yeah, 11 this year.
Queens grad.
Yep.
Collegiate soccer player.
Yep.
Spent some time down in the States at GRP equivalent, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which was what at the time?
Athletes Performance.
Athletes Performance. Exos now.
Exos now. Yeah.
And then joined the team. Had a brief stint away from performance sports in the Gen Pop world.
Yep.
Got a peek at that. Didn't enjoy it as much, I suppose. And now back. So Luke runs our speed, agility. What term do you use here? I don't know. Acceleration, change in direction.
SAQ.
SAQ.
Speed, agility, quickness is
Yep.
easy one.
And then our internship program as well. So heads up our education. So we got a new stock coming in here for him. So
Yeah, super excited about those ones.
He's had some good picks though.
we had some good pickups. Well,
Yeah, like if
yeah.
he's had some good picks in the past.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. We've
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I think Hugo DM'd Adrian through Instagram, and then that A made that connection, and
I
then
know, but you taught him and you brought him in and you.
Well, so everybody-
Brovy, but
and then
Brovy and Liam. Those two were not. Those were through traditional channels.
yeah. Well, Liam knew Bry, and
That's okay. Traditional channels, nonetheless.
Bry was though. So I'll
Yeah, Brian.
I'll take credit for
But
that.
Liam wouldn't be here if not for Brian.
If not for
So
Bry. Yeah,
how's that?
Yeah, that's fair.
There we go.
Okay.
So Brian did it. Well, one of our interns has started to work already a little bit, just putting in a couple of shifts, and so he was in yesterday, and I think he's on the ice a little bit, so he's on the ice late. It's a bit of an earlier morning for him. It's an adjustment, let's say, but he has no girlfriend and no kids, so he gets lots of time to sleep, I guess is how I rationalize it in my head.
Yeah.
He goes home and he goes right to sleep. Okay, so it can't be all that bad. But yesterday, one of the things that is unacceptable is leaning against the wall in this place. And so yesterday I walked out of the office, and because the glass is frosted, but it's backlit, so you can see the shadow, right? So I see his shadow, and it's his shoulders and his head and his arms extended out to the side, like he's in Hot Tub Time Machine, just lounging on the side. So I walk into the gym, and he's like, come off. I'm like, hey, don't lean on the wall. He's like, but I'm like, don't lean on the wall. There's no leaning on the wall. And he's like, it was just 2 minutes. I'm like, that was the worst comeback of all time. Like, it was just 2 minutes. I'm like, bad 2 minutes then, I guess.
Wasted 2 minutes.
It's wrong 2 minutes. You got caught. Like, it's like, I just didn't play defense for like 2 minutes. It's okay. They scored 2. It was just 2 minutes. So little learning process for them.
That's okay.
But yeah, so the genesis for this one is last week, Cam and I were recording downstairs, and a kid walked in, and him and his dad listened to the pod. I'm like, what do you guys want to hear this week? And his dad's like, speed. That was basically all he said. He just said speed. I want to hear about speed. So we're on.
And now we're here.
Early off season. If you are a player, you're on your own, you live, I don't know, somewhere remote, you can't come work with GRP. What would you suggest, Luke? How would you get started looking at improving your speed? Like, would it be testing that you would start with? Like, walk us through it.
Yeah, I think the first thing, if you can't come see us, the first thing you have to do is you have to get some sort of metrics or numbers on yourself, because you need a starting point, right? Because one of the best ways to know that you're getting faster over the course of the off season is to constantly test yourself and see if there's actually improvement happening over the course of that summer. So I would set up a 10 meter distance on a field somewhere and start from a standstill and sprint 10 meters, and then do some sort of build up where you're building up for 5-10 meters into that. And then, like, we call it a flying 10. So you build up into that 10. That way you get your acceleration, and then you get your top speed.
Got it.
So start with those, and
you would just do what? Like, just have a stopwatch, or?
Yeah, I would see if you can have a parent of yours go out there and time you. Make sure you get a good warm up in prior to, and then do 3 reps of each, and you're good to go. If you wanted to put them together, which is what we do, like we say it out 30 meters. And so we mark the first 10 meters and then the second 10 meters, but obviously we have fancy lasers and timers that a lot of people other don't have.
But not necessary.
But not necessary.
Yeah.
Not necessary, to be clear. Like,
No Mississippi's, you can't do it that way.
no.
Well, no, but you could literally your phone.
You could. You could have your phone, and
has a phone that's great.
everyone has a phone. So like you can have your parent standing at the 10 meter mark, and you can hit the lap button, right? Once you pass that 10 meter mark, and then that'll give you your 10 meter time. And then you hit the lap button again,
Which gives you,
and that gives you your next time.
Yep.
Or the other thing you could do too, correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you were to take your phone, if you want to be really precise,
If you want to be really precise.
you could take your phone, put it in landscape, I guess, like horizontal, and then if like the timestamps are so good on your phone,
Yeah.
that you could just get
run a video.
you get your start, run your video,
Yeah.
and you could slow down and get your start,
Yeah.
and get
And
your
your
10,
end. Yeah.
and then get your flying 10, all just on your phone video.
Yeah.
Because if they are, I mean, like, yeah, if you wanted to get super precise, I don't think everyone needs to go there, but
Yeah.
you
Especially if you're by yourself. Like that's a
For sure.
great way to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
you just need to set your phone up, and the camera time will tell you what your times are.
Right.
So,
And you just want a baseline.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's a starting point where you can see, okay, this is where I'm at in, what is it? It's May, right? So this is where I'm at in May. And then every 4 to 6 weeks, test yourself again, right? And then
would you try to do the same thing on ice too?
if you have the ability to, like obviously getting ice time by yourself for when like it's
one test.
it's different.
Well, I know, but you could do, I guess, like if you were already on with a skate, you could just,
If you're already on a skate,
yeah,
because then having that comparison of the on ice and off ice number, I think, is valuable as well.
Okay, what times are you looking for? Just out of curiosity for people listening. I mean, I know like age specific, obviously.
Yeah, age specific. I think so. For the 10 meter, I think most of our kids, like our youth athletes, are going to be in that like 2.1 to 1.8 second range.
Okay.
Running.
Okay.
Running for the 10 meters from the standing start.
Yep.
It'll be in that kind of
So like 1.8 to 2.1 roughly. Yep.
And then as you progress into the flying 10, they'll be somewhere between 1.5 and 1.8 or 1.7.
Got it.
Maybe it would be
Got it.
a little better.
Got it.
Like for the flying one.
Just like a general.
As a general guide. And then our older athletes are obviously faster than that.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So, and then on ice, do you know offhand?
On ice would be the 10 meter will be a little slower. The 10 meter will be over 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I want to say it's between 2 and 2.3.
Something like that. Yeah.
Will be the first 10, but the flying will be slightly faster.
I think I saw like a 178.
Yes.
Well, you know what I'm talking about?
Pardon me? Flying, 178, 186. I think a couple kids might have got 1.6.
Maybe one. Yeah, maybe.
But
but those are the really efficient skaters.
The fast guys.
Yeah, you've got to get a good start to get in there.
Maybe talk a little bit about why we choose both those options, though. Why do the 10 meter versus the flying 10? Like what we're seeing.
So the 10 meter, like I mentioned, is the acceleration, right? So so we choose that because it gives us a good indication a little bit about like, okay, where is your strength? Like we can make inferences from like where their strength lies within that. And then the flying 10, it allows us to kind of get what we call your sprint decrement. So when we look at your change of direction versus your top end speed, so that flying 10 we use as a baseline to allow us to establish, okay, what is their change of direction ability look like, right? So when we take the 505, which is a 5 meter fly in to a 5 meter sprint with a hard cutback. So right when we did it, it's that.
So for on ice, basically,
say you set
like red line, blue line, almost.
Yeah. So say you have your cutback at like the red line, so you would set that as your cutback, and then you mark 5 meters from that, and that would be where you start your timer, and you have 5 meter build into that. So you sprint or you skate, building up your speed for 5 meters, and then you start the timer at that 5 meter mark to the red line, cut back and sprint through.
Yep.
And that's your time. And then, so that's 10 meters, right? But with a change of direction. So it's that stop and start ability.
Yeah.
So we'll take the flying 10, compare it to that. And then that'll give us a metric on, okay, what is their ability to change direction, right? Because how close can that change of direction number be to that other one, right? So if that flying 10 is your top speed as fast as you can possibly be, how close can we get to that number
with the other one
with the change of direction? So that's why we use the flying 10 outside of seeing kind of like what our top end speed is, right? And then the acceleration just gives us, okay, what can we go from a start, and then we can make like some sort of inferences in terms of like what their strength looks like, right? Because if you're slow off that acceleration, you can kind of hypothesize that, okay, maybe they need to work on their strength a little bit to apply more force on the ground to push themselves off a little faster. So that's kind of why we do the two.
Which one's more important?
I think in the sport of hockey, I would say the 10 meter, the acceleration's more important, right? Because like when we
standing still,
not even when we're standing still, but I think like when do we ever really get up to a top speed in hockey, right? You're more often not going to be accelerating for a couple of steps, couple meters, and then need to change direction at some point or another. You're never really ever going like,
yeah, the only
unless you're a guy like
check.
Connor, who's really like on the power play trying to enter the zone, and he skates around and comes through at a ridiculous speed.
right.
That would really be it. But even then, he's only hitting that top speed for a brief second before he's got to move. Right.
Yeah, I don't think the top speed's used. Like, I mean, you could see top speed. You can see when they measure those guys' top speed, it's maybe on the forecheck or on a back check or skating with the puck. But outside of that, I think
the acceleration, because those are the puck races, right?
Yeah.
Like those are the races to pucks. Those are like
yeah,
you have to quickly turn around and then accelerate to back check.
3-4 strides to the
you know what I mean?
boards or
So that one for us, I think, is more valuable.
yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
And then so we've set baseline now. So
Yeah.
if we're a young athlete going to this, so we've set baseline. We've got a couple different metrics. We know where we're at. We identify a weakness, so to speak. Like maybe our let's say it's our 10-yard excel.
Mhm.
Like it's outside of those ranges. Like we're coming out like a 2.4 or something like that.
Mhm.
How do we go about starting to develop speed for the off season? Like how do we structure our summer, I guess.
Our summer. So
yeah.
I'm just going to base everything kind
of course.
off how we structure ours. So we do SAQ, or the speed, agility, quickness sessions twice a week. Right. And so the first session that we do in the week, that is our high day. So those are the days that, we're really trying to challenge the nervous system and push ourselves a little more. Like the intensity is higher, the volume's a little higher. And the second day in the week, that's the lower kind of volume. I would say probably going to be mostly our technique kind of day.
Can I stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
Just to ask a question.
Yeah, fire away.
Into what people would say.
Yep.
So when you say, and I know what you're saying, but I know people are asking,
Yep.
and a lot of people say, well, is it a hard day because the nervous system is being fired because we're doing multiple reps and we're doing less time in between and the kids got a sweat on. That's sometimes not the right.
No, that's not the right.
Right. So what you're doing is you're pushing the body to an extent of as fast as you can go for a certain amount of periods. And then you might shut it down, right? If it gets to a point where you see that we're not fast anymore.
Yeah. So
in order
to do that, and that's another reason why we have that baseline and we use that time. Because on those days when we have the timer out, when we have the lasers out, we will use like a cutoff. So as soon as you start seeing your speed drop off,
right?
That's when you would
say they're done.
That's say you're done, right? Like say you're doing 5 reps and you get 3 reps in and you notice you're significantly slower than your first one. That's when you would be like, okay, this is enough.
Okay.
Right. But
on those days you're sprinting.
Yeah. So those days are high volume acceleration days or our low volume top end speed days. It's 2 ways. Like for us, I spend more time working on the acceleration side of stuff with our guys. So if you're early in the summer, let's hammer technique. Let's work on our strength. Let's work on how hard we can push into the ground and we can shoot our hips forward and cover as much ground as we can in that acceleration. And then as we progress through the summer, that's when we'll hit the top end speed stuff, right? So you need to build towards the top end speed. I think like we don't spend a ton of time hitting top end speed. We hit top end speed on the days that I really want to like push their nervous system. And I'm really only doing that 2 to 3 times this summer where we're really like hammering down on the nervous system.
Okay.
Right. So to kind of circle back, twice a week is kind of how we structure it. We're going to start with working on technique and acceleration, working on pushing into the ground, pushing ourselves forward. And then as you progress through the summer, that's when and like sled work, if you have the ability to.
Yeah, I was just saying, what are modalities that would be for these kids?
So for acceleration, we would have, if you have the ability to have someone with you, like a parent or a friend or someone who can hold like a band, doing like band resisted accelerations where it doesn't need to be long. It can be 5, 10 meters, 10 yards, 15 yards. It doesn't need to be long, but like band resisted work, some sled pushes, slow, heavy, fast, light is important. fast
So variability.
variability. Yeah. So if you're going
Hills?
Yeah, hills is another. Yeah, hills is a great option if you don't have sleds, right? Like doing short hills, long hills, like those are like it's a great way to develop power and strength and accelerate and work on acceleration without having like sled stuff.
Your cottage sprints are coming in handy. That's why you're so fast on Wednesdays, bud.
But
As you're coming up and down Halliburton
yeah,
back
I
roads.
used to pull a sled along the road. It was awful. But back when so for instance, a kid goes with his mom or dad after school and they're like, there's a good hill right around the corner from us.
Mm-hmm.
So run it up, walk back down, run it up, walk back
Well,
down.
it depends. Like I would, if you're working
Warm up first.
always warm up first. If you're working on
You
acceleration,
never go Super Saiyan without warming up first. That's how you get hurt.
Yeah.
if you want to work on acceleration, keep your sprints or your runs up the hill shorter.
Okay.
Right? Keep them shorter.
Time or distance when you say shorter?
Distance.
Distance. Yeah.
I would keep the distance shorter because then that allows you to keep the intensity higher.
Yeah.
Right?
Back
Because
to our point about
the
getting slow.
intent has to be high. Right? Like you can't do an acceleration at like 50%.
That's actually a really good point.
Right? Like
you have to try.
yeah, you have to like try to be like
Yes.
yes, that the intent with all speed work, intent matters so much.
Even if you're not fast, you just
Even if you're not fast, the intent has to be
And
there.
is that because your brain?
That's nervous system too.
You're telling your
Nervous system, and then
telling your legs to go.
the contractile ability of them. Like I don't want to go too,
No.
but like it's your ability for force to be produced.
All
right?
gas.
Yeah, you have to be able to maximally contract
Yeah.
your musculature to produce the maximal amount of force, right? That's not going to happen at 50, 60, 70%. Right? It has to be 90 and above, right? So if you're working on acceleration on a hill, keep the distances short.
So
Keep
go ahead.
10 meters.
10 meters.
10 meters, maybe 15 meters.
And hill grade,
Hill grade
variable.
is variable,
Okay.
right? Like it's hard to
Yeah, not every.
nobody's going to go out there and be like, "Oh, this is a
Take the-
40
Look up
degree
like Andy
angle."
Orr out.
Yeah, I'm gonna let's like see what the angle is. You don't want it to
far back with a protractor.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be like overly steep or aggressive,
Right.
right? Like you want it to be like a gradual.
Yeah. If you have to lean forward to stay on the hill, it's probably too steep.
It's probably too steep,
Got it.
right? It shouldn't feel like you're leaning crazy far.
Yeah.
It should feel like you're still kind
going
of
up.
running upward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So 10 meters
Yeah.
sets reps
Keep the reps like per set. Keep it under 5.
under 5.
Under 5, I think. Like
Rest in between.
rest in between. Try to go. So there's a good rule of thumb, I think, is for flat land sprinting, for hill sprinting, for whatever it is, for accelerations. For every 10 meters that you're running, take a minute rest. That's a good rule of thumb, I think, that most people can follow. Rest 60 seconds per 10 meters that you're doing. So if you have a 10-meter sprint up a hill, serpentine your way back down, or like S-walk your way back down, whatever time is left, wait, rest a little bit, and then go again.
Okay.
Right? I think
It also takes mental toughness to do this, right? Because especially
hockey players.
especially hockey players, where it's like work all the time culture
Yes.
when it comes to hockey. And so you have to be mentally tough enough to know that resting for a minute to go all out is better than hitting an extra 5 reps.
Yeah,
and
but it
going
goes
up 30
back to
seconds.
where we go back.
Yeah.
To his
Well, I
point
remember,
about
like-
saying pushing the maximum
But
number.
if you do it, you'll be gassed. If you
You'll
go,
be
yeah. Like
if you go as hard as you go.
Yeah, like I'd always tell our kids a story of when I was down my
Yeah.
internship in Arizona. I got a chance to work with some unbelievable sprint coaches, like some of the best sprint coaches, like track and field sprint coaches in the world. And so I got a chance to go and like shadow the session and watch their session, even though I wasn't one of their interns per se, because they have their own interns. We got the opportunity to go learn from them and spend time with them. And the sprinters, they would do, I don't know, like say this, I think the sessions were like 100 meters or whatever it is, 60 meters, whatever they're sprinting, they would do 1 rep and then they would rest for longer than you think. They would go lay down, they would go get a massage, they would hop on the table, get their hip worked on. and then they would go again, and they would spend an hour at the session and do 4 sprints. It was so that like opened my eyes when I was down there, like how important rest was, and like they were still able to keep the pace and like the speed that they wanted for each rep. Like
Which is crazy.
which is nuts, because it's like, oh, why would I need to rest that long? It's like, because you just like,
If you're going to apply that much horsepower
yeah,
through the system, you're going to need.
and those guys have horsepower.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and they're also, even from an energy system perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like they would like burn through their initial energy systems, and they would need time to replenish.
time to replenish it. Yeah, and that's the idea.
Because I mean, we don't have to get into it today, but like your like phosphocreatine system's like an 8-minute recovery time, I think, total. So like, you need some time.
You need some time.
if you're going to burn through it all, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, so hill session, let's call it like one of our days is a hill session,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't have sleds or maybe going to be on the field with, but that's something that every kid could do.
That's something every kid can do. And like, even like, it doesn't have to just be like, okay, I'm going to go to the hill and run. Like you can do some jumps up the hill, like doing 2-foot like long jumps up the hill.
Right.
So you can do single leg jumps up the hill. You can do bounds where you're going from one leg to another, like
Right.
adding some sort of plyos in there and still trying to be forceful with each push, right? Like the 2-foot standing long jumps, it's like lots of contact time and then really strong pushes. The single leg stuff is a little shorter ground contact time, and like doing stuff like that, like at the start, is a great precursor to setting up the Excel. So if you want to set up the session, do a warm up, do
So jumps and
some
bounds.
jumps and some bounds up the hill, do 2 sets of those, right? Maybe a little longer distance, maybe the same distance, whatever floats your boat, I guess. And then go into your Excels and then call it a day.
And so you do sets of 5 for how many sets?
3.
3?
3.
So 15 really hard sprints.
15 really hard sprints. And that's a relatively high
Day.
I would say that's a relatively high volume day,
Got it.
right? Like that's a high day.
What about a cool down or a stretch after? Or is there something that can or should not be done just so that the kids, don't, get tight or pull something? Is there anything afterwards? You just walk home.
Go for a walk. Right. Go for a walk after. Yeah, for a walk. You can do some mobility.
We just talked about how it's such a change for a lot of these kids and even OHL guys and all these guys coming out of it. Like we get them in here and then we're like, okay, let's go, boom, right onto the track, start running. They haven't, some of them might have never, been on a track or run in 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And, I see it with my guys and I'm talked to
Like cross.
Yeah,
like,
just cross, just the constant
It beats
beat
them
them
up.
up,
Yeah.
pounding on the concrete.
Yeah. And I think, and so that's where the stuff in the weight room
Right.
matters so much, is like the strength stuff. Like right now, like our guys aren't really doing a ton of running. We're microdosing like sprint mechanic stuff into the warm up right now. So it's like, that's the technique work into our warm ups. That way the athletes have that in them and we can spend some time working with them. It's like, okay, now they're at least familiar with that. Right. But I think the weight room is when you can work on foot and ankle complex. You can work on, like your calves. You can work on that. Like
that's what A was saying is like,
yeah,
you want to build into it. You don't want to just go for.
Yeah. You need to prep yourself prior, right? Like I think last time we talked about having the capacity and building the capacity in order to sprint and train for speed. Right. And I think that's what happens in the weight room is build that strength, work on ISOs, work on your foot and ankle mobility, work on your knee strength, work on your build that tolerance first, and then you can go into it.
Okay, so that's our day 1 of the week.
Yeah.
And then how would you structure that second day
So that second day for our younger youth athletes tends to be more of like, okay, let's work on some technique on stuff that we worked on, like skills that were used in that first day. Let's work on some technique, or it's the change of direction day. So that's where we work on like crossovers. That's where we work on drop steps. That's where we work on that stuff. Cause the contacts are way more, the volume's way higher, but the relative intensity is lower because it's like technique on crossover work. Like change of direction stuff for our pro guys really beats them up because they're powerful. They're powerful. Their engine is way higher, and their horsepower, like I mentioned earlier, like their horsepower is high, right? So their output during those is way, way higher than it is for our youth athletes. So we can hammer some volume and we can work on technique because they just they're not putting that much force into the ground during those sessions, right? So that's what our second day is. We tend to alternate
Right.
Like
they're heavier than
The pro guys, you mean?
yeah. It's just bigger.
Yeah.
You're stronger.
Yeah. So that's what our second day is like, okay, let's take some skills that we worked on the first day and let's isolate those skills a little bit. So let's do some wall drills. Let's do some mechanic stuff. Let's do some like lighter bounds, like some more plyos to reinforce what we did. And then, or on the other hand, okay, if it's a crossover day, let's work on technique for crossover. Let's work on deceleration. Let's work on drop steps. Let's work on.
So the drop steps would be the ones I watch out there when they come off the box and land and then take off.
No, not necessarily. Yeah, kind of. Or just like, it's the ability to like, if you're facing one direction, to accelerate and turn around in the other direction. So think about like a D-man skating backwards, gets beat out wide. You need to then open and pivot is a good example. And then accelerate in that direction.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the kind of stuff we'll work on that second day. Nice. You can also on that second day work in, if you're not doing it on other times, conditioning.
Well, conditioning.
Right? Yeah. Conditioning can be on that day as well.
What's a good conditioning for
well, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. That's the most coach answer in the world, but
it does depend.
Because I mean,
because I mentioned earlier, like we have
go for a jog.
Yeah, we have different energy systems, so we have different things
That's a whole different pod.
I think that's
a whole different pod. So, like, you want to? I think
general blanket statement, not true for everyone. Go ahead.
You can. Yes.
Not true for everyone. Not all the time. Sometimes.
Not all the time. The more I think aerobic system, like work on that long form endurance capacity to like keep your heart rate within certain ranges and like long form
slow jog, like you said,
slow jog. That will, if you spend your entire like building that capacity is, I think you can't go wrong with that. You can never have that. Your engine can never be too big.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as like too big of an engine.
Right. But I'll watch kids go out in my neighborhood and they'll go out and they'll run as fast as they can for 3K. Like, so what you're really actually saying is slow it down and go a little longer.
Well, that could be, or you could like go play. You could do like, so Luke does tempo runs a lot, which is like a way where you don't have to run the entire time, right? So you would run for, I don't know, like 110, but generally like.
Is it called fartlek or something?
110 meters and then like walk.
And then walk.
Right?
Huh? Yeah.
But
no, Cam?
But there's a variety of different ways that you could cut it up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be just a jog or just a.
It was.
What's that fartlek over there, eh, Cam? Look at your
run the hydro poles.
Once a lot, you had a fartlek, Cam, just out of curiosity.
There.
Okay, we're getting up against time. I know we got to go build a gym over here, but one thing that I did want to talk about: off ice sprinting for on ice speed. This is like a quagmire for athletes.
Yeah.
So, do you want to touch on that a little bit? Of why you need to sprint?
Well, I mean, we say it all the time. Gary says it all the time. You get faster on the ice by getting faster off the ice.
Right.
Like you can't just expect to get faster on the ice without getting faster off the ice. That's just how it works. Like, is there differences in technique? Yes, absolutely. Can you get faster by just doing on ice stuff? Sure. But in order to get faster on the ice, you have to get faster off the ice.
And I would say if we pulled all of our data sets from all the players that we worked with and you put a chart and who is the fastest on the ice and who is the fastest off the ice,
probably be
there's probably like a 90%
yes.
crossover rate would be my guess. We should need to do that actually.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask because who would you think would be the fastest off the ice comparable to who's on the ice?
Brandon
Tanev, Warren Fogle.
Both super fast
off the ice, both fast skaters.
Allard.
Owen Allard,
another one super fast in both. Yeah. So I think if you looked at, maybe we should do that. But
those are I think the three fastest guys.
Yeah.
Like in terms like off ice speed.
Okay, and then give me
Chris is in there too.
Who?
Chris Tanev is in there too. He's fast off the ice.
What would be the exception to the rule guy? Because then maybe you could say, well, he has.
I know, but it's hard to say. Like some guys are fast off the ice because they've got
unbelievable technique.
Well, or they've got like a tendon issue, like a patella tendon issue where it just aggravates them, so they don't sprint as much.
Go ride a bike.
Because that's something like on the ice, it won't like
exactly.
It doesn't patella tendon. It won't bug you on the ice
as much.
It
usually,
yeah. So they won't run off the ice because of issues that like tendon issues that they have. But
so I'd be curious. It's a good question. Or they've got like an injury, like ankle or something like that, so they don't run as much. But yeah, I would say in general, yeah. We'll do that chart.
Yeah,
that's
we'll do that.
Homework for us.
Yeah, but I think like the other thing I think is important to mention in terms of like how like frequency of like why we're doing it twice a week, and maybe we'll do another one as we get closer to the season. I'm doing speed in season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something that's missed, I think, in season more.
But I think like, so the reason we do the SAQ sessions twice a week is so that we're hitting that at least top end speed, or at least hitting that intensity and the intent to move fast once, if not twice a week, right? Every 5 days is what we're
not touched on as much in the season, probably.
Well, you just won't develop it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you need frequency.
Well, everybody wants to get like that. That's it. Speed.
Yeah, everyone wants to be faster, but you have to prioritize it.
You have to. Yeah. You have to.
So, Gards, do you have any questions just to wrap up here? Like as a dad, I know you have a bit of a different lens. You know, like I'm not too worried about how fast Wes or Kenny move across the backyard yet.
No, I think as a dad or as a parent, we've learned a lot. I hope people have learned a lot that it's exactly what Gary said, is you have to be faster. I think technique's a hard one. I think technique could be one where it's like, hey, here's myself running, and then sending it off to somebody like you and say, hey, can you help me out with technique? I know there's some guys in our area that used to do sprinting coaches, and I was like,
but would you agree, Luke, like technique does matter? Yes,
does matter,
but it's had to pick.
But if you,
so it's more intent then.
It's more the intent.
Okay,
like
so
the technique,
let's go with intent.
The technique. I'm not going to spend a ton of time, like as fast as Brandon Tanev is. Like, let's use Brandon as an example. Brandon is a good runner. He's not a great runner. Sorry, Brandon, but like, technique is. So,
but we're not building.
I just need to work on technique enough that when we do stuff, they're not going to get hurt, right? Like we're cleaning up leaks, as we call them, or like where there could potentially lead to injury, like things that can happen, like overstriding, right? Like that can lead to hamstring issues, because hamstring issues aren't a thing on the ice. Like when you skate on the ice, I was telling our interns about this actually the other day, like hamstring, you're not going to pull a hamstring skating on the ice.
No,
not going to happen. Off the ice can definitely happen. So if you're cleaning up things like striding too far, that's the technique stuff I'll work on, like making sure we're using our hips properly, like we're not flailing our leg back too much, and like
kicking it
where they're not going to get hurt. That's where the technique works. Like it doesn't really, for hockey players, because there's such a drastic biomechanical difference between running stride and skating stride. We don't need to spend too much time getting.
So if I were to break it down, you're trying to create the intent off the ice to be fast, so that when you jump on the ice, hopefully the intent's there, but you're going to be fast.
Yes, and the ability to produce lots of force and produce force quickly. Right. That's how you get faster on.
I mean, for us, I think the biggest thing is how do you continue. And I think this is good that we talk about closer to the season. How can you continue this through the winter months, or at least somehow integrate it in, so that when you do come out of it and you want to kick back into it, that you're not hurting, you're not sore, you're not, not beat up. Because I watch, and the other thing, it's okay to be sore, but that means you're doing something. Like I had to say that to my older guy today. He walked out. He was, you get, for instance, a day is like they got track in the morning at school, so they're trying to make the track team. Then they go and play a game of lacrosse.
So he was flying. Yes.
Then they go out and play then they go play tennis after school. And then they're outside. So there's a lot of. Yeah. But they're a kid. I was like, it's okay to be sore. Like, well, what am I going to be able to do in the gym? I'm like, upper body. I don't know. Just get there, keep working, keep pushing. It's a long road, and but speed is good.
Yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned it last time, but speed takes a while to develop.
And we'll talk
it's
about
like
speed
takes time. Speed is slow.
Right. For this generation of kids, they want to see something.
You're not going to get fast at age 12.
No.
But introduce it in your regiment, work on things, and over time you will develop qualities and you will develop the adaptations that you need to be faster.
Yeah. And then you come to us and we'll teach you how to use your head to be speed.
Sounds good. Awesome. Luke, thanks so much for being on.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Let's go build a gym.